boys and girls. How are you today? Are you having a good week? Are you learning a lot of new things at school and preschool? I'll bet you are. I can tell you're smarter every time we get together. Well, today we are going to learn something new. We are going to be using our crayons, and we are going to be coloring a beautiful picture of a fish. Now, if you look closely at my fish, it's kind of weird. It has numbers in it. And we have to color where the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, where those numbers are. But we have to use this little chart to figure out what colors to use. It's called a color by number, a color by number. So if I took my picture of my fish and I wanted to color these little dots, do you see these little circles inside my fish? Do you see what number's in there? That's right, that's the number 5, the number 5. So let's go to our chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What color do I need to color those little circles? What color is under number 5? Red. Do you remember the sign for red? Do you remember? Lips. Red. Red. Let me look in my crayons. Oh, I have a nice red with a nice sharp point. Okay, so I'm supposed to color where the 5 is. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, I love red. Isn't red a pretty color? Let's color this one. It's very hard to stay in the lines when you color, isn't it? Oh, I started my fish. How cool. Which one do you want to do next? Which number should we do next? Let's do the number 2. Do you see the fin up above the fish and underneath? That's called a fin. What color do we need to use to color number 2? Let's see, 1, 2. Anaranjado. Do you remember what anaranjado means? Orange. Can you do that? Orange, like you're squeezing an orange right under your chin. Orange. Oh, watch out. Don't get the juice in your eye. Orange. Okay, let me get my crayons. Let me look. Oh, I see my orange. Okay, now what number 2, right? Okay, here we go. Oh, this is going to be a beautiful fish. Oh, it's going to be so colorful. Okay, and do I have another 2? Oh, yep, I have another 2 down here. Oh, get that one part right there. Do you like my fish so far? We colored the 5s and we colored the 2s. Let's do these little 1s. Do you see the number 1? How many of those do you see? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Number 1s. Oh, let's look at our chart. Put our orange crayon back. Let's look at our chart. What color should we color the number 1? What color is that? Can you show Miss Kathy the sign for blue? Do you remember? That's my favorite one. You can't forget that one. It's like you're waving. Blue, 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 red, orange, blue. Okay, let me see if I can find. Oh, my blue doesn't have a very sharp point on it. I don't like when crayons lose their nice sharp point. Okay, so what number are we? We're coloring the 1s, right? Okay. All right, you gonna help me? Here we go. We'll color this one. Forget to stay in the lines. But if you go out of the lines, it's okay. Just do your very best you can. Oh, wow, my fish is getting so beautiful. Let's do these back fins. Let's do the number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So what do we have to do first? We have to look at our chart, and we have to see what color is in under number 4. What color is that? Purple. I love purple. When I was a little girl, purple was my favorite color. Do you remember how purple is kind of a hard sign? Do you remember? Make a V. You make a V with your fingers. Okay, put your thumb kind of in between like that and turn it upside down. Purple. Make a V. Let me see. Good job. Put your thumb in the middle. Turn it upside down. Purple. Purple. Morado. Purple. Purple. Okay. I can't find my purple. Oh, there's my purple. There's my purple. Okay, what color are we coloring? 4. Okay. Oh, I love purple. Isn't purple pretty? Oh, this fish is going to be beautiful. Don't you love to color and see a picture when it's done? Didn't God make some beautiful colors? Okay, there's my purple. There's my purple. Oh, my fish is almost done. I only have one more color. I wonder what my last color is going to be. 3. Can you find the number 3? It's right in the middle, isn't it? 1, 2, 3. What color is number 3? Yellow. Yellow. Do you remember yellow? Make a Y. See how that looks like the number Y, the letter Y? Make a Y with your hand. It's hard. It's hard to hold those 3 fingers down because this one wants to come too. But do the best you can. Now, once you get your thumb and your pinky up, shake it back and forth like that. Yellow. Yellow. Okay, let's see where my yellow crown is. Oh, found yellow. There's my yellow. Oh, we got a lot to color with the yellow. We got to color all of this. I don't going to give him a yellow eye, so we won't color his eye because there's no number in the eye. We'll just leave that white. Oh, color around here in the back part and under here and around his mouth. There's my beautiful fish. God did make some very beautiful animals, didn't he? And he made some very beautiful fish. He made some very beautiful things that live under the water. And the reason I brought a fish today is we are going to make a special trip to see some special animals. And we are going to go with this little girl. Her name is Nancy. Now, does Nancy look happy or does Nancy look sad? Nancy is very sad. Nancy went to school Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday, and she just got off the bus, and her mommy couldn't wait to meet her because her mommy missed her all day, and mommy was at the bus stop waiting for her, and she got off the bus, and Nancy just looked so sad. So they went home, and mommy made a little snack for Nancy and said, Nancy, what's wrong? Why do you look so sad? Nancy shouldn't look sad. Nancy knows all about Jesus. Nancy is a Christian. Nancy has Jesus to take care of her. And God is her father. So Nancy shouldn't be looking so sad. And she said, well, Mom, you don't know what kind of week I've had at school this week. It has just been so bad. God isn't letting anything go well for me this week. Did you ever have one of those weeks where everything just seems to go wrong? Well, it was like that for Nancy. On Monday, she forgot her homework. Left her homework at home. She had it all done, and it was all done so well, but she left it at home. And she got in trouble because she left it at home. On Tuesday, they had a spelling test. Now, Nancy's a good student, and she studied so hard because she wanted to get a 100. She wanted to not miss any of her spelling words, and she worked so hard. But she just forgot a few of the words, and she didn't get a good grade on her spelling test, and she was so angry. Why didn't God help me get a 100? I studied so hard. And she just got crankier and crankier. Well, on Wednesday, Nancy had to stay in at recess. All the boys and girls got to go out to play, but Nancy had to stay in because the teacher said her desk was a little messy and she had to stay behind and clean up her desk first. Well, Nancy just didn't like that at all, but she had to stay in and do that. Now, on Thursday, the kids on the bus made fun of her. She got on the bus and she kind of tripped, and all the kids laughed at her. And Nancy didn't think that was very kind, and it wasn't. And so she was very sad, and she said, Mom, I just had a really bad week. Now, Mama felt bad for Nancy because mommies don't like to know that you had a really bad week at school. But Mommy said, you know what, Nancy, God takes care of everything, and sometimes things don't go the way we think they should go, but we still need to trust Him, even if things don't seem to be going well. We need to trust Him with all our hearts that He's going to work things out. And Nancy said, yes, Mom, I know that, but it's so hard. And tomorrow's our field trip. Did you ever go on a field trip? I love field trip days. Tomorrow's our field trip. And guess where they were going? Do you remember my picture? Well, they were kind of going to a zoo for things that lived under the water. Do you know what that's called? It's like a zoo, but there's not giraffes and hippopotamuses and horses and stuff like that. It's all animals that live in the water. Do you know what that's called? That's called an aquarium. Well, they were going to a big aquarium tomorrow, and Nancy said, Mom, everything's probably just going to go wrong, just like it's gone wrong all week. Well, she got up in the morning, got on the bus, and they went to school, and they got on the bus again, and they went to the aquarium, and the aquarium was beautiful. Oh, the fish were just beautiful, all different colors. Look at the colors of those fish. Blue and black and orange and yellow. They were beautiful. And at the aquarium, there's more things than just fish. There's sharks. Those are really big fish. And turtles and dolphins that jump up in the air and crabs and octopus and seahorses. I love seahorses. They're just so teeny. And jellyfish. And they're all... Nancy was just looking at all these animals, but she just couldn't seem to smile because her week was just so bad. And they even let the boys and girls touch some of the starfish and put their hand in and touch them. And Nancy still didn't have any fun. And they got to see the silly penguins. Aren't penguins cute? And Nancy still wasn't smiling. And they even got to walk underneath the water. They had like a tunnel, and you could walk through and look up and see the fish. It was so cool. But poor old Nancy, she still was in a really bad mood because she just didn't think her week went very well. Well, she was standing there looking in at the oysters. Do you know what an oyster is? An oyster's like a clam, only it's a little bit wider. Well, she was looking at the oysters, and one of the oysters kind of smiled at her and said, hey, how you doing? You can tell this is a pretend story because oysters don't really talk, do they? But we'll just pretend. Hey, Nancy, how you doing? Why you look so sad? Oh, I'm having a really bad week, Mr. Oyster. Leave me alone. What do you mean you're having a bad week? Things just aren't going well for me. Well, I know how you feel because a couple weeks ago, I really had a rough time. Really? What happened to you? Well, I was sitting in the water just minding my own business, and one of the guys who runs the aquarium came, and he brought, can you see that? Do you know what that is? I'll let you listen to it. That's sand. Well, he brought some sand over to me, and he got this little syringe thing. See, that's kind of like what mommy gives the baby medicine with sometimes. And he grabbed just a little bit of that sand. It's so teeny, I can't even show it to you. It's so small. It's just so small, you can't even see it. And he took that little piece of sand and he put it in my mouth. Now, you wouldn't think a little piece of sand because it's so small. I mean, he didn't put the whole thing in. Just put a little piece of sand in. He said, you wouldn't think that piece of sand would hurt. But when it got inside my soft mouth, ouch, it hurt. And it made me so sad, I couldn't hardly smile. And Nancy said, well, that's how I feel. They kind of look alike, don't they? And the oyster said, oh, for weeks and weeks, it just hurt. But the longer it was in there, the less it hurt. And after a while, it didn't hardly hurt at all. But then I saw the man coming back, the aquarium man. And he checked me out and opened my mouth. And do you know what was inside, Nancy? What's on his tongue? I have to give you a hint. A beautiful pearl. Did you know, now these are pretend pearls, but do you know how you get a real pearl? A real pearl comes from oysters, and oysters get sand inside their mouth. And their little oyster body, it hurts their little oyster body. So their little oyster body makes kind of a coating around that piece of sand so it doesn't hurt them anymore. Their body, God made it so special that their body knows how to protect itself. And when it makes that little coating around that piece of sand, that's how we get pearls. So an oyster has to go through a lot of pain for ladies to have beautiful pearls to wear. And the oyster told Nancy, you know, there's a verse in the Bible that says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. That means don't try to figure out everything that God does. And the next verse says, in all thy ways, everywhere you go, everything you do, acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Nancy, sometimes things don't go well. And boys and girls, sometimes things won't go well for you. Sometimes you'll have a bad day at school, or you'll fall and hurt yourself, or something will happen at home that makes you sad, or you'll get sick. Don't think that God doesn't take care of you anymore, because he does. All we need to do is trust in him, because he has a plan, and he'll direct our path. Well, after Nancy talked to Mr. Oyster, she thought about how much God loves her and how much he cares for her. And you know what? She could feel that kind of grumpiness going away. And when she got home, her mommy said, well, how was your day at the aquarium? And she said, Mom, I learned the best lesson ever off of a little oyster. Sometimes pain can produce some beautiful pearls. And Mama, next week at school, even if things don't go well, I'm going to try trusting God and letting God work out my problems. And that's a good thing for all of us, boys and girls. And we are going to learn a new verse. In fact, you're going to be scared. It's actually 2 verses. We're going to learn 2 verses. But it's really not too hard, and we're going to learn a new sign. So we're going to learn that verse that Miss Kathy just read to you. Trust in the Lord, okay? I'll sing it for you one time. It's a little bit longer, okay, because it's 2 verses. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Trust in the Lord, trust in the Lord, trust in the Lord, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. That's a lot of verse. And it has that kind of little chorus at the end too, which is fun. Okay, listen to it one more time, then I'll teach you a new sign. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Okay, you can sing this part. It's just trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord. Repeat it. Trust in the Lord. Repeat it. Trust in the Lord, and he shall direct thy paths. And he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Okay, here's our new sign, and it's a fun sign. Now we're going to pretend that you're on one mountain and you want to swing over to the other mountain, but you can't fall in the middle because there's big alligators in the middle, and if you fall in there, the alligator's going to eat you up. So there's this big rope hanging down, and you have to trust that rope to hold you as you swing from one mountain to the other mountain. So we're going to trust that rope. Trust, like you're grabbing onto that rope for all that you have, and you're going to trust that it's going to hold you up as you swing through the air. Okay, so grab the rope, trust. That's the sign for trust. And that's what we need to do with God. We need to trust him. Trust him. Grab the rope. Trust him. Ready? Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Trust in the Lord. Again. Trust in the Lord. Again. Trust in the Lord, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Good job. Now, of course, that oyster story, that was just pretend, because we all know that's silly Miss Kathy, because oysters can't talk. But it was a fun story. But now we're going to do our Bible story. And we know that our Bible stories are true, and they are real things that happen. So our Bible story starts today, and God's people are in a terrible situation. They are having a really bad time, just like Nancy was having, only worse. Because they live, can you see this wall back here? They live behind that wall. Their city, Samaria, is behind that wall. And there's only one way to get in and out of the city, and that's this little door, this little gate right here. So all the people are in the city behind here in Samaria, and that's their door to get in and out. Now look who's standing all around their city. Those are enemy soldiers. And they want to go into Samaria, and they want to hurt God's people. And they even set up their tents, their camp, right outside the gate so that the people could not go in and out of the city. Well, if they can't go in and out of the city, they're going to run out of food. And that's what happened. They didn't have any food inside Samaria, and they couldn't go out because the soldiers, the mean enemy soldiers, were all around the city and they just didn't know what to do. They didn't have food for their children. They were really having a bad time. Well, the king was not very happy, and he sent one of his soldiers to see Elisha. Now, Elisha was God's special man who told the people what God wanted them to do. And the soldier came and said, "What do we do, Elisha? The people don't have any food. There's enemy soldiers all around our town. We're all going to die in here. We don't have any food. The king doesn't know what to do." And you know what Elisha said? Trust in God. He is going to take care of it. He is going to provide us food. But how? There's enemies all around us. What are we going to do? Oh, no. Just trust God. Now, that's hard. It's hard to trust when things aren't going well. Well, outside the city, okay, remember I told you there was a wall. Let me get my wall back. There was a wall all around the city. Well, outside the wall, not inside where the people lived, right outside the wall, there were some men. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 men. Do you see their bandages and their boo-boos? Can you see? They had a bad sickness called leprosy. Now, leprosy was very catchy. That means if they would get around people who didn't have leprosy, those people would catch it off of them. It's like if you have a cold, your mommy says, "Wash your hands because I don't want your little brother to get your cold." Because sometimes things are contagious. They're catchy. Well, leprosy was very, very catchy. And it was so catchy that they had to stay outside the gate. They couldn't even go in to Samaria where the rest of God's people were. And they were God's people. They couldn't go in because they had leprosy and they were catchy. Well, they were hungry too. And they thought, what are we going to do for food? If we go inside the city of Samaria, if we go inside those walls, the people are going to just kick us out, and there's no food in there anyway. If we go the other way to the soldiers, they might capture us and make us prisoners. But of course, if we were prisoners, maybe they'd still give us food. Let's go to the enemy soldiers. Let's go to see if we can get some food off the enemy soldiers. Well, they got up that evening, and God did a marvelous thing that night. So those enemy soldiers were all around the city, and it was nighttime, it was dark, and they heard this big sound. It sounded like a big army coming after them. And they got scared, and they thought, oh my, God's people figured out a way to get their army out, and they're coming after us. And the enemy soldiers, man, they just ran. They didn't take their tents, their food, their money, nothing. They just ran as fast as they could. There was no one coming. That was just God scaring them off. And they ran off, and by time those 4 men got to the soldiers' camp, no one was there. They were all gone. But you know what was there? You see, he has some bread in his hand. All their food was there, and all their money and all their treasures. Well, those 1, 2, 3, 4 lepers, they ate until they were full. They had so much food, they didn't know what to do with it all. And they thought, what are we going to do with all this food? And then they thought about God's people behind that wall. And they thought about all those little boys and girls and mommies and daddies who didn't have any food. So they went to the gate, and they knocked on the door, and they opened the gate, and they said, come get the food. No, the enemy soldiers. No, the enemy soldiers are gone. They ran off. They ran off, and all the food is left behind. Well, God's people were so excited, and the soldiers ran out, and they got that food and brought it back to the mommies and the boys and girls, and everybody in Samaria had enough to eat because God took care of them. We can always trust God to take care of us. He knows our problems. He knows when we're having a really bad week and we're feeling really sad inside. He knows when someone hurts our feelings and we're feeling very angry. But he also is our God, and he's our Father, and he loves us so much that we can just trust him to take care of us. Let's do our song one more time. I really like that I can have a bad week and things can go wrong for Miss Kathy, but I can know for sure and for certain that God is in control. Let's do our verse one more time, and then we'll do a fun song, and we'll be all done today. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. Get that rope. Trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Let's just do the end part. You can do this part. It's pretty easy. Trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord. Trust in the Lord, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Oh, Proverbs again. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. Proverbs 22, 1, part A. Remember, a good name, better than riches. Good name, good name. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches. Proverbs 22, 1, part A. Oh no, Miss Kathy, not again. Before we go to today, let's do, let me move my scarecrows over so you can see them all. I mean, my crows. Can we be scarecrows again like we were last week? That was so much fun. Let's be scarecrows, okay? Remember, scarecrows just kind of hang. Let me see your scarecrow. Come on. Let's see those arms. Okay, let's go. Ready? And we're going to try to shoo the crows away, okay? Remember, we don't want the crows in our field, okay? A scarecrow stands out in the cornfield. What's he doing? Watching for black crows each day. The scarecrow stands out in the cornfield. What's his job? To shoo all the black crows away. Okay, now don't wake your baby brothers and sisters, but you got to shout. Ready? Shoo, crows! Shoo, crows! You cannot stay here and play today. Shoo, crows! Shoo, crows! You cannot stay here and play today. We got to do it again. We still have crows. Ready? A scarecrow stands out in the cornfield, watching for black crows each day. The scarecrow stands out in the cornfield. What's he doing? To shoo all the black crows away. Nice and loud. Ready? Shoo, crows! Shoo, crows! You cannot stay here and play today. Shoo, crows! Shoo, crows! You cannot stay here and play today. You still got one. You got to shoo them again. Ready? Shoo, crows. Shoo, crows. You cannot stay here and play today. He doesn't want to go. Shoo, crows. Come on, the boys and girls want you to go. Shoo, crows. You cannot stay here and play today. I love you, boys and girls. I hope you have a really good week. And I hope things do go wrong and you do have kind of a bad day. I hope you remember to grab that rope and trust that Jesus can take care of you. I love you, boys and girls. We'll see you next week.